In this video, we will learn about Agile Mindset, the core behind many Agile methods, how Agile methods are different than traditional methods, and when to use Agile methods. We will learn about how to apply Agile Mindset and finally review different frameworks available to implement Agile. We are going to talk about what software development looks like, what you will hear and see when working in software development team. We will also discuss how software development process evolve over time. Software development process includes many phases, which starts with gathering the requirement from the client, designing the software based on the design, coding, and testing. Assure the quality of the software through functional testing, and then get the acceptance of the software from the user side using user acceptance testing. After the user has accepted the software, it needs to be implemented, and the operations and maintenance part of that software is done as a whole life cycle after implementation. Software development process start with requirement gathering, which means looking at what exactly we want to build. During this process, you will do analysis or you will create prototype and ask the customer if that is what they are looking for. At the end of this phase, you have exactly what you are looking to build. Then comes the architect and the software developers. They are going to design the system, architect the system, and say what are the different components that they need to build and how they are going to work together. Once the design is done, they are going to do coding and unit testing. Here each of the sub-teams are going to develop their components and test it. Once all the components are ready, then they will bring all the components together and do the integration testing, or called verification. They will do the functional testing. When the software is done from the developer point of view, then they will invite the user to do the testing called UAT, which is user acceptance testing, where the actual user of the system will check various functions of system and suggest corrections and improvements. Once everything is done, the software goes into production, which is called implementation, after which user is going to use it. After implementation, the software is managed through operations and maintenance process. In Waterfall Model, we go from phase to phase in the process, completing each phase before moving to next phase. While Waterfall Model provides a complete development process of software, there are some basic issues with the Waterfall Model. First of all, it is very difficult to predict the requirement for rapidly changing markets and predicting what a user will like or not like in future. Since the development cycle is long, like year or 2 year long, it is possible that the developers or architects misinterpret the requirement. The misinterpretation can go from design to development, testing, and so on. The integration issue between the components may get undetected during the development. Because of these issues, other variant of Waterfall model started to evolve. Let's take a look at some of the variants of Waterfall model. V model, which basically focus on a lot of testing. There are two other models, /V and RUP model, which focuses a lot on overlapping phases. There is an incremental model, which takes the requirement in one shot but does all the other processes in increments. The last example we have is of spiral model, which focuses on risk analysis to drive the software development. As all of these models were coming along, a new thought process was getting involved in the software industry, which later collectively addressed as Agile. Agile in itself is not a model, it is a mindset. There were a lot of thought leaders in software industry that were building a software very successfully. They came together and analyzed what they were doing differently that made their process successful. They articulated what is now called Agile Principles and Manifesto. So, as the Agile Principle and Manifesto were crafted, many models which followed these got recognized. Some of them are Scrum Model, Kanban, Extreme Programmer, also known as XP. These are not only the only three models, but there are many models which also include a combination of them and which are independent of these models. The basic idea of all the models of agile development was, in place of building the whole software in 1 year cycle, build the software in short cycles. One need to define little, design little, build, test, and keep doing this process. In this way, one can adjust to the market very quickly and also learn from the users. So, change has become a normal process. It also got important to respond to the change quickly and confidently. This derived many of the ideas of modern software development, which include continuous integration, automated testing, continuous deployment, and many more automated practices which got involved in modern software development. Automation is a very important part of the agile software development method. When we look into different software development models and the practices, we can categorize those models into some of the categories based on our observation. The first set of categories is predictive versus adaptive. What a predictive software development model is. In predictive software development model, we have a very good definition of requirements. The process is very robust. As the requirements are fixed, the other process can also be completed in a step-by-step way. In predictive model, the requirement changes are usually not expected. In adaptive model, the client generally have idea of what they want to build but not exactly 100% sure about the requirement. So, the developers generally build something like very small version. They show it to customer and build a next version based on their feedback. There might be some major changes based on the requirement gathered in feedbacks. So, it might be possible that after many major changes, we may end with something according to user needs, which is totally different than what we were thinking in the initial phase of the development. The other way we can categorize software development models is incremental versus iterative. So here we will take an example of like if we want to create something like a vehicle. So in incremental model, we very well know what we want to build. So we create different components in different phases, like create the wheels differently, create the engine differently, build the body differently, and finish them by assembling together. While in iterative model, we might have the requirement like we want to go from point A to point B. So first we see that to how easily we can achieve that thing. Like we can build a bicycle. Then we can add a motor into the bicycle and create a motorbike. Later we can create a car based on the requirements, and like it may convert into a semi truck also, because it is an iterative process. There are some models which include both the process, like start with incremental and then use the iterative phase, or start with the iterative phase for incremental processes. There may be models which neither use any of them. So, like, they can use both or they can use none. They can use one inside another based on the development process. So, what's next? In the next videos, we'll take a deep dive into agile practices and models. We will see how different models can be utilized to solve different problems in software development. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.